Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am coming to you live on a Wednesday night with a special guest tonight. We'll be bringing in Jessica Link so we can chit chat, hear her story, get some inspiration, and all that fun stuff. So, if you guys have any questions, we will do our best to get to those. So, please feel free to drop those into the comments. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on Jessica and just see what happens, guys. So also feel free to share this into your groups or wherever you might be. But there's Jessica. Hey, Jessica, how are you doing today? Oh, wait, I forgot to unmute you. Rookie mistake. Now talk.
Okay. Hi,
Hey.
Dave.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. So it doesn't seem like we have too much of a delay. Sometimes there's a lot of delay in these chats. So happy that that's not there. So for those who don't know, Jessica and I met through Dr. Barry's Patreon group. And just realized that we were both in Arizona. She checked out Easy Keto with Arizona Dave, joined, became a moderator there, but she also, in addition to being a moderator in our group, in Dr. Barry's group, she also runs Ketogenesis as well, and a few other groups too, right? You're very, very busy.
Yeah, I'm kind of busy. Yeah, I'm in, Dr. Barry's group, your group, Ketogenesis. Ketogenesis Community is my public page. And I'm also an admin for Keto for Life with Robin Davis.
That's right. So, I'm in that group too. So those are all good groups to check out, guys.
They're all really, really good.
Well, and then I finally got to
definitely Arizona Dave is pretty awesome.
Well, thank you. That's nice to say. And then we finally got to meet each other at the little get together we had at First Watch a couple months ago. I think maybe a month ago. And everybody kind of told their story, and hers was kind of cool. So I just thought it would be good since Easy Keto with Arizona Dave just turned a year old, and
hey, happy birthday.
Well, thank you. And I've pretty much been the only voice in there. So what I wanted to do is put together some guests. You are the first, and just get some different perspectives, hear some different stories, and especially to those who are new to keto, that it's not all about weight loss, even though that might be what got us there in the first place, right? So why don't you just kind of give an overview of your story, your journey, how you started and how you got to be the master of all groups on the
internet. The master of all groups on the internet. That's what I like to call myself. That's my new title. Well, oh boy. I always have a hard time starting my story because I could start it from the beginning of time or I can start it from the beginning of keto. From the beginning of time, I grew up in a family who all struggles with weight. And, it's a fat family. It's always been. We've always had weight problems. And and we've done a lot to try to control that. All of us have worked very, very hard at it our whole lives. And I lost the battle for a while with the weight. It was, geez. So I was actually kind of looking at my timeline today, and I found a picture when I was 13, and I'm actually going to post it. I was in The Sound of Music, and I had my little sailor suit on with all the other Von Trapp children. And I saw my big round face in the middle of all of these kids. And I realized that's probably about where it started, and so, I worked through high school trying to keep the weight down, always thinking that I was the fattest kid of my friends because they were all skinny cheerleaders and, or track stars or some sort of athlete. And I was the artist, singer, painter with the chubby round face. But I actually wasn't. That's the funny thing. The picture of me when I was 13, I was. But the picture of me when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 was not. But I still saw myself that way. So for my whole life, I felt like I was. And I had to work really, really hard to not be. And my weight would go up. I would join a weight loss center or go on some goofy diet or order some weight loss pill. At the time, it wasn't online. It was because I saw some infomercial um, way back in the olden days.
Right.
And by the time, well, by the time I was engaged, I was chubby and I didn't want to be that fat bride. So I worked really, really hard, got down to 123 pounds. I was the pretty skinny bride that I wanted to be, or, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And when the honeymoon was over, the honeymoon was over. And I was done doing LA weight loss and all that stuff because now I'm married and I'm going to be fat and happy. Well, we all know that you don't end up being happy when you get fat.
Right.
And then pregnancies came along and the pregnancy brought the weight up and I worked really, really hard to get it back down. And then 3 miscarriages later, my weight had gone back up and I was fighting harder to get it back down because now we're going, okay, so we've gone through pregnancy, hormones have gone crazy. We've gone through 3 miscarriages. Clearly, hormones are crazy. And the doctor is saying, it just happens sometimes. And I'm sorry that you're going through this. Those cysts on your ovaries mean nothing. Don't worry about it. I
Wow.
have faith that you are going to get pregnant again. And I did. And I had my second child. But in the meanwhile, nobody ever addressed the issue of why was Jessica miscarrying.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process of all these miscarriages and these hormonal shifts and all this other stuff, the weight started creeping back up until the point where now I have my 2 kids, but I weigh almost 240 pounds.
Yeah.
And
And let me show that. You sent me a picture earlier.
that's not what you're supposed to look like.
Right.
I mean, you're just not. Nobody is supposed to look that way. A lot of people do, but it is not. There's something wrong when you get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finally got to the point where I said, you know what, I'm just going to go on phentermine, the weight loss pill. I'll go to the doctor, I'll get the pills, I'll do whatever I need to do to get the weight off because that is an unhappy person. That is a sad, unhappy, unhealthy person. So the
Right.
first thought in my mind is get the weight off. I'm not thinking about the health at all. Like, I don't care. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
thinking about the miscarriages anymore because now I have my 2 kids. I'm not thinking about the overall health and, what is my heart health, and how is my blood sugar and all this. I didn't care. I just wanted to lose the weight. So I went on the pills. And somehow, somewhere along the line, I ran into a person on one of these phentermine groups saying that they were losing weight on this thing called keto. And I was like, oh, what is this keto thing? Oh, it's that high fat, low carb thing. That crazy diet where you're eating all this fat. It can't be healthy. I mean, why would I do that? Because I want to lose weight and I don't care. So I'm going to go on this crazy, unhealthy diet because I don't care. Are we still here? Because Dave, you disappeared. I don't know if I should keep talking. Are you there, Dave?
Keep talking. Keep talking.
Are you there?
Hold on.
I'm
Yes,
sorry, you
you're
guys. I
there.
don't know if I should continue. Oh, there
Yep.
you are.
Keep going. Yeah.
Oh,
Keep
okay.
talking.
Okay, I wasn't
I just,
sure. You
I just
disappeared.
filled an entire glass of ice water, so I was just kind of letting you run the show there for a second. So,
Sorry. So
you're fine. It's all
anyway.
over my keyboard and everything. So
Oh
yeah,
no,
I was
I
all
hope you
ready
didn't ruin
to.
anything.
No, everything's fine. Everything's fine. But yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
No.
yeah, if you were just solo on there for a minute, no big deal. So
Okay, so
I just had to
anyway.
I just had to run and get a towel, and I didn't want to actually have anybody see me run away. Like, I didn't like
You're
your
too
story or
funny.
something. So anyway,
You're
please continue. I'm sitting there mopping up right now, so I had to run and get a towel. And okay.
Okay, so anyway, high fat, low carb, terribly
Yep.
unhealthy, don't care, gonna lose
Right.
the weight, still on the phentermine, gonna lose the weight, doing the high fat, low carb, this crazy keto thing. And all of a sudden I started losing weight. And what was weird, I started losing weight, but then I started feeling like I don't need this pill because I'm not hungry.
Right.
Well, that's weird, but okay. So
Yeah.
eventually I ditched the pill. And so now I'm not doing this, phentermine, aided diet anymore. I'm just losing weight. And I went junkie. I went like info junkie and I started researching everything there was to research,
Right.
started following all these people, listening to things, following doctors, all this other stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, this is crazy because I'm actually doing something that's healthy. Like I
Right.
didn't think I was. I just figured bang out the weight now, figure out the health part later.
Hmm.
And then suddenly I realized that not only am I getting healthier, um, we talked a little bit about how the hormones were going crazy.
Hmm.
Um, well, all of a sudden my cycles started becoming normal. I started feeling like I wasn't getting as painful. Sorry, Dave, you're a boy.
No, it's
You
okay.
don't personally experience this, but a
No.
lot of the people who are listening probably do. It wasn't as painful. No, the pain didn't go away. It still hasn't gone away, but it was better. It was getting
Hmm.
better. And I was regular in my cycle for the first time in my entire life. And I started researching polycystic ovarian syndrome. I'm like, I know that I have this. Even though the doctor never said that I had this, I was convinced that I did because he told me I had ovaries. Well, we all have ovaries. I had cysts on my, well, you don't, Dave. I was told that I have cysts on my ovaries. I was told not to worry about it, that it's normal and nothing to worry about. My bird says hi.
Okay.
Um, uh, uh, you know, now I'm realizing actually it is not normal. It is actually really bad. And this keto thing is fixing it. That's crazy. So, so I'm thinking weight loss is good, and all of a sudden my brain shifted. I'm going, wait a minute, my cycle is getting better. I'm feeling better. My anxiety is starting to get under control. I'm
Mm.
feeling better. My skin is not as eczema. I used to get like kind of bumps or cysts on my hairline that hurt. They went away. I had a skin tag that was developing on my eye that went away. And I'm going, wait a minute, this is crazy. So all of this weight loss stuff that I was so obsessed about completely shifted. And all of a sudden I'm realizing all these things that are starting to get better that have nothing to do with the weight. And I kept hearing the motto that keto is for health and weight loss is the happy side effect.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I think sometimes when we talk about, all the different areas that we feel better and have had improvements, to those who are either just now hearing about it or maybe just starting, it sounds like it's one of those things that's too good to be true. Are
yeah,
we watching an infomercial that's going to say this thing can do everything in the world for you? But it
right.
really comes down to the simplicity of giving your body the proper fuel and it'll take care of itself. Like Dr. Berry says, quit poisoning your body with processed garbage and we'll just give it real whole food, whether it's with a lot of veg and a lot of meat or light veg or pure carnivore, whatever it is. But just, and most people, for me, in 3 weeks, I couldn't believe how much energy I had, how much mental clarity I had,
Yeah.
in addition to just losing the weight. Now, I have osteoarthritis in both my knees. I'm bone on bone. They both need to be replaced. But I was going from taking a handful of ibuprofen every day because
Hmm.
somehow I thought that was better than the prescription painkillers. I haven't had an ibuprofen in months. I don't need it. Now I still have some pain on, certain days and things like that, but it's just another
Yeah.
one of those benefits. So, like you talked about skin and, just for me, it's just the energy and mental clarity and,
Yeah.
you don't get sick as much. And when you do, it's not as
Yeah.
bad.
You don't get sick
Right.
as
So,
much. That's
right.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
crazy talk.
And it's like, it sounds like we're like leading this cult of, all these promises, but it's like, guys, there's nothing magic about it. It's simply let the body take care of itself when you give it the
Yeah.
proper fuel. And
Yeah.
as Dr. Berry says, the proper human diet rather than just the keto diet, because it's such a buzzword
Right.
these days. And you made that post. keto products are coming, and they're going to be bad and ugly, right? Because
Yeah,
people are
and they're all
watching
over
them.
the place. And all of these medical weight loss programs and the things that you see on TV,
Yeah.
South Beach. The post that I put up, that was South Beach. They're going to adopt it, Slim Fast. They're going to adopt it because it
Mhm.
is a buzzword, because it is effective. And they're saying we're going to lose money off of this if we don't conform to what keto is doing. We are going to lose money. So they make their fake version of it so that they can
Right.
continue to make money, but it's not keto.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's the
No.
frustrating thing.
And a lot of companies are, obviously they're jumping on board. And hey, I'm not against making a profit, but you got to do it the right way.
Sure.
And there's some companies out there that make some decent
Yeah.
keto type products.
Yeah,
Keto
Keto
Brick
Chow.
and Keto Chow is a great one.
Yeah.
Fat snacks, things like that. And in the beginning, I think those are fine, as a crutch as we try to,
Mhm.
break our carb addictions and, have a fat snacks cookie or a keto chow shake or whatever it
Sure.
is. But eventually you just leave that behind. You don't, it's like, I don't need it,
You
So in the
do.
beginning, those are helpful to get over that addiction. And it's a pretty severe one, and the longer that you do this, then, the further you can leave that behind, so that if you ever have a bite of cake someday or something, it's not going to necessarily send you completely off the tracks.
Right.
Keeping in mind, though, that eating disorders are a different story completely, too.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
So, right. But
You were mentioning the osteoarthritis,
mhm.
and I have not been diagnosed with this, but I know that I had developed something in my knee because every time I would walk up and down the stairs, I'd hear this clicking noise and I'd feel it. And
Yeah.
when I'd go out, before I figured out keto and was only doing like the 15-mile hikes because that's what was going to get me skinny, like I was torturing myself.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where, and I also have degenerative disc disease.
Oh, wow.
So when you were mentioning the osteoarthritis and needing to get surgery, and now you're barely ever even taking pain pills of any
Right.
kind,
Right.
that happened to me with my degenerative disc disease. Now, it's not probably going to go away because
Right.
there is damage there that's been done it's irreversible. However, I don't have any pain. So whatever I'm doing with this keto diet,
Right.
yes, losing weight takes less, you have less stress on your
That's
body.
obviously, yeah, that's one of the contributors. But we're all
But
seeing a lot of the collagen and the healthy fats, and the
exactly.
body is using that stuff, saying, "Hey, we have a deficiency here.
Yep.
Well, why don't we put this to good use?" Right. So,
Exactly. And so you lose the weight, and that's helpful. But what we're not dealing with in your knee and my back is the first of all, the inflammation, because the
right.
inflammation is really what aggravates any injury or condition in your body. So
Exactly.
you're getting rid of that. And then you're putting in the nutrients and the minerals and the vitamins and the collagen and all that other good stuff into your body. So you're feeding it. So you're hitting it kind of from three different angles. You're
Mm-hmm.
losing the weight, you're taking down the inflammation, and you're feeding it the nutrients it needs.
Right. Yeah,
That's a
that's
beautiful
exactly
thing.
right. And, I was talking to Dr. Barry when we had dinner with him about this, and we said, I feel better. And let me kind of bring this up. This is sideways for some reason, but these are my knees, and those are 80-year-old man knees.
Wow, yeah.
And that's bone on bone right there. That's
Yeah, it
bone on
is.
bone right there. So, and he even said, yeah, he mentioned it when he was doing the talk. Yeah, Dave's knees still look like shit in an X-ray, but if he's moving and able to, I was ready to get the surgery because I couldn't get through a day without. I mean, and I'm thinking, the ibuprofen, 4 or 5 at a time, multiple times a day. So that's
That was me.
that's not good, right? So
That's what I was too. I would get to the point where I would be so flat that
Mhm.
I mean, I would just flatten myself out where I couldn't even move, where I would have to depend on Percocet.
Right.
And I wouldn't take it unless I absolutely had to. But there were those times where it was unbearable. And I'm
Mm,
looking at your knees going, geez, like how do you not have that kind of pain?
right. I mean, they
Goodness.
should still hurt, but they're not,
Hmm.
right? Yeah. We got a comment here for you. Maybe tilt your camera up a little bit. They see your nose down. There, that looks better.
Lift your camera up, but we only see your nose and down. Is that me?
Yeah,
I
that's you.
suppose. Okay, so tilt it.
There you go. Yeah, that's better.
Is that better?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was.
because when I look at it, there's a big white space above it.
Yeah,
But
I should have
I'm gonna go
probably.
with what you guys see now with what I
I
see.
should have probably caught that, but I was just too
Is that better?
engaged in the story, right? So yeah, no, that looks good. That looks good.
Good.
Um, yeah, so a couple people commented that the phone was too low, but sorry guys, I wasn't looking at the
Sorry.
comments at that time, and I wasn't paying attention. So, but yeah, the various benefits, and we were talking about the keto products and things like that, and one of the things that people need to get their head around, and this was hard for me, is that there's a distinct difference between a low carb diet and a ketogenic diet. While a low carb diet is a part of the ketogenic diet is all about eating real whole clean food and trying to limit the products, and what's in those low carb products makes a difference. And I've talked to my group before about falling for the low carb mission tortillas, so I could do my burritos and cheese crisps and things like that. And it's like, hey, it's only got 6 net grams of fiber. I can eat light all day and I can have 2 of those. And then you look at the ingredients. The first ingredient is wheat.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, we got to eliminate the wheat. We got to eliminate the grains. We got to eliminate all the starches. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I've fallen for all of that stuff. And so when it sounds like we're being like, I don't think it's strict, but it's like, you got to kind of get away from the products, or at least really read the labels. Like the post you just made in the group. That was a bunch of chemical crap in there. And the first rule of keto is read the label. Second rule of keto is read the label.
Yeah.
The third rule is actually just don't buy anything with a label.
Right. Right.
And then you're safe. Meat doesn't lie to you. Broccoli doesn't lie to you. Cabbage doesn't lie to you. Right.
Exactly.
So,
Well, even I don't know if you saw my sour cream post. That was maybe a month ago.
Even what you would think is a good product, you have to still watch.
So
because
I've been
of
in this 2
one
years
brand.
almost.
Yeah.
I've been in this almost 2 years, and I usually buy the Daisy, but once in a while I'm like, I'll buy the Lucerne because it's cheaper, and whatever, I'm in a
Now
hurry.
we know why. We know why it's cheaper, right?
Well, I didn't read the label too. I just assumed. I mean, for almost 2 years.
Sour cream, right? It should just be cultured cream. There shouldn't be anything else in it. And so I wouldn't have looked. Luckily, I always chose Daisy, but I wouldn't have looked at all the crap that was in there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, here's a funny tidbit, and this is totally not keto, but I've always been kind of a label reader because my kids can't have food dye, and it just tweaks them out.
Right.
So for years and years and years, I would get them occasionally for a treat. I would get them the mini marshmallows. Just take a little cup of the little mini marshmallows, and that would be a treat for them when they were little kids. I flipped the back one day, and it had blue number 1.
In the
marshmallows. Okay, in marshmallows.
They weren't blue marshmallows, right?
It doesn't matter now because marshmallows are not keto. We don't eat marshmallows, so who cares what the label says? But at the time, my concern was food dye. And it just goes to show that when you assume you know what's in something, you don't always know.
You really have to look on anytime you're buying something that's in a package, even if you've bought it before, because
they change.
They change their formulas, and I've had that happen, right? But and even like with some people don't like these, but I love them, as especially just kind of a light lunch or a snack when I do have a snack, is canned sardines. You wouldn't believe the variety of stuff that's in those things. So the King Oscar is just pure sardines in olive oil, which I go for. Every other one is in soybean oil, canola oil, stuff like that. Some of them, in addition to the crappy oils, have additives and flavorings and sugars and maltodextrin and dextrose and all this other weird stuff. And it's like, it's just fish, man. Why are you messing with fish?
I know, right?
You know, so I mean, even something that you think is fine, you really need to pick
Yeah.
up that can and turn it around and that box and turn it around. And that's why I say, you know, you're just shopping the outer aisle in the, you know, meat, dairy, cheese, and produce. You really can't go too wrong. Obviously, there's some areas of produce we need to stay away from, but
Well, even sometimes the cheeses can trip you up.
yeah, you have to watch the cheeses. And some people are more reactive and sensitive to dairy.
But I mean, even some of the,
Even in the cheeses, yes,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you need to again look at the label and
Yeah,
and
even
you,
the difference between Philadelphia cream cheese versus a different brand of cream cheese. It could be, I think Philly only has 1 gram of
yep,
carb,
yep,
whereas the, well, Trader Joe's has 2, and then there are, I think, and then there are other ones that have 3, and other ones that even have 4. So even when you're buying cream cheese, they're not all created equally.
right. And that's why you need to look and compare the brands. And there is usually a reason why the cheap one is cheap.
Yeah.
And the other ones maybe you know, and we're not talking about breaking the bank here, you know, I mean,
Right.
and that's kind of funny, you know, we talk about, you know, the quality of the food, and I'm the guy who says, you know, you do the best you can with what you got, you know, and you don't have to get the grass fed this and that,
Yeah.
unless you can and you prefer it, you know. But I also don't want to hear Kerrygold butter at $4 a pound or whatever a package is too expensive. And oh, by the way, which brand of $50 exogenous ketones do you recommend?
Right. That's a really good point.
Right. So quit buying all that stuff,
Hmm.
you know, and I've done it too. I mean, I bought the MCT oil. I bought this, I bought that, you know, and I was making fat bombs and I was doing all this stuff. And then all that stuff just sat there after 2 to 3 weeks because it's like, all I need is some meat and some veg. And then for the last couple months, it's just been meat, a little bit of veg here and there. But I did a 30-day carnivore experiment on myself. I felt better than I felt in a long time. So I thought, well, I'll just stay mostly carnivore. After that 30 days, just to do, you know, that to see, you know, how I felt, you know, I had added some veg in here and there. But for the majority of the time, I'm probably 95% carnivore right now. And feel great. But I'm not gonna, you know, disallow myself vegetables. It's just that's what do you eat in a day? What's your day look like?
I don't know. It kind of changes, but usually I eat around 11. I don't really, I'll start the morning with coffee. Sometimes I'll put a little heavy cream in it or a little butter
Mhm,
or whatever. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just drink
mhm,
it black. But I always start with coffee. Around 11 o'clock, I eat something. And I mean, it could be anything from, leftover. Um, whatever meat I made from the night before. Usually lunch is just something that I can grab, and it's usually something that is in my refrigerator already that is
mhm.
usually kind of ready to go. So it might be leftover chicken drumsticks, or it could be eggs. Sometimes I just grab, some salami and I don't know, some sort of veg if I feel like it. Occasionally I'll make a
Right.
salad. I eat a lot less veg than I used to, but you know, um, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I don't really have a regimen on that. And then
Gotcha.
and then I don't really eat much again until dinner time. And then dinner time is when I make the chicken or the steak or the this or whatever thing that, was the
Hmm.
leftovers from the night before.
Yeah.
That's so I usually prepare my dinners and then the next day I have the leftovers of the dinner I had the night before. So it's really pretty simple.
Yeah.
Once in
Yeah.
a while I go into this because I'm a stay-home mom. So
Mhm.
once in a while I'll get real creative and say, okay, today I'm going to make myself a spinach crust pizza. And then I spend, an hour prepping a bunch of stuff and make it real fancy. And, so every once in a
Mhm.
while I'll treat myself to one of those fun things during the day. But for the most part, it's just leftovers of the night before. The night before I
Yeah.
make the meat and the vegetable and whatever.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's usually really simple,
Yeah.
really simple.
I've gotten real simple now. Um, I am starting, or I have started. I haven't started publicizing it a whole lot because I don't have a ton of content, but a YouTube channel with some keto friendly recipes on there, and so those recipes are fun and they're delicious and they're great for like having company or just, hey, I want some comfort food or I want to
Yeah.
splurge on this or that. And there's going to be more and more content there, guys. So check it out. It's also Easy Keto with Arizona Dave, just on YouTube. But 4 out of, or probably at least 5 days a week, if not 7, it's steak or a burger, or when I'm not in the mood for steak or burger, not that I get tired of them, but sometimes you want to change, and I'll put chicken leg quarters in the rotisserie and season them up real good, and we're good to go. So let's see, we got a couple questions here. Let's see what we can do here. Maria, headaches are gone if I stick to keto. Last week, I decided to take the grandkids to Dairy Queen. Had a small banana split blizzard, woke up with a huge migraine the next day. Lessons learned. I'm back on keto, no more ice cream allowances.
Sugar hangover, right?
Yeah, it's a real thing.
And it's okay. I'm not saying do it. I'm saying since you did do it, it's okay that you did it because you reminded yourself of why you don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And
don't beat yourself up. Your body already beat you up. Just, you already took your lunch.
I can say that
beat yourself up more.
From talking to Jessica, that she's a lot more strict than I am. Now I'm very strict, but in 2 weeks from today, exactly, I'm going on vacation, and I'm going to be seeing some family that I only get to see once a year. And I'm looking forward to seeing them. And there's probably going to be occasions where we're going to be at a non-keto friendly restaurant. And sometimes I just don't feel like being the guy scraping the toppings off the pizza, and I do enjoy it, However, every time I do it, I regret it probably within about 20 minutes. I'm like, oh God, I should have done that, And then you get that lethargic feeling and that bloated feeling, and it just reminds you. And then it's like, okay, I just want another, I just want a steak, and then it
right.
And the longer you are fat adapted, and been clean keto, and I think it takes 6 to 8 weeks for most people. It varies. When you do slip up like that, you feel like crap, and your body tells you that right away. But the craving then is for meat again, not for. It's not like, okay, this turned into a 3-week cheat. It will if you do it in the beginning, you'll be on and off and bouncing around. But if you're on 6 to 8 weeks longer than that, if you do have something that you shouldn't, that's not on plan, for me anyway, it was like, I can't wait till I get home and just have a steak. It wasn't like, okay, I already messed up, I want to keep messing up. That went away, and that used to happen to me when I was just low carb.
Yeah.
Right. And when I was just low carb and I would eat products and whatever. Boy, I would fall off the wagon, bounce down the road, hit my head on a rock, and it would just be, terrible. So,
I see it. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I see it kind of like if you overdrink. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So say that you go out and you just get a belly full the night before, you have a great time, but then the next day you're paying for it, and you've got the hangover and you feel like crap. If you go out again the next night, your hangover is going to subside, because you're filling yourself full of alcohol again. And then if you go the next day and you keep the binge going, eventually that hangover will just kind of fade away, because you just feed it and feed it and feed it. And now you're a mess. Now you just had way too much to drink for way too many days. The same thing is with food. If you eat too much of the wrong thing, you're going to feel like crap the next day. But if you keep feeding it, eventually your body is going to say, okay, well, I'm learning to accept all of this junk again.
Right. Yeah.
So
you'll retrain your body to go right back to the old ways.
Yeah.
Quicker than you want, right? And
you want to learn from that hangover. Don't keep feeding the hangover.
And as anybody who knows me knows that I like my cocktails and I like my light beer on the weekends. And I know it's not keto, but that's just kind of my lifestyle, and I fit it in and I make it work. But I notice that when I go a week or two without having any alcohol at all, I feel better. We all know this.
Yeah.
And then when I have a few, I'm like, well, that's the other thing keto does. The alcohol affects you a lot more.
Oh yeah, you can't drink as much.
You're a lightweight after that, right? Yeah. So I got on the screen now. We got a question from Kate. What do you think about things like almond flour and coconut flour? I have some thoughts on that, but what are yours there, Jessica?
My thoughts are, we don't say all things in moderation in keto, because you're just changing your lifestyle. But when it comes to those kinds of things, I think it's okay once in a while if you want to make a keto bread or a keto cheesecake that's got an almond flour crust or something like that and a little bit of the swerve or whatever. I mean, I think it's okay to do if you treat it as a special thing. Um, some people can eat the keto breads every single day and be fine on it.
Hmm.
I can't. I actually never ever got into any of the breads. I've made two mug breads in 2 years
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
for me, I mean, I I loved my bread so much when I started keto that I was one of those people. I was like, just like an alcoholic, cold turkey, can't do it, can't touch it, can't go near it. Now,
Right.
I don't think that I have that kind of weakness anymore, but since I have not been doing it, I don't have any real desire to.
Yeah, bread and bread-like products were always kind of my thing. In fact, before I went keto, I had basically, I'm a cook. I love to cook.
Hmm.
Uh, I had basically perfected a French baguette and I could make it home, So I'm making these French baguettes fresh every day, and I'm
Hmm.
doing fresh homemade bread every day. And I
That,
finally got the recipe to where I liked it, and I'm giving baguettes away here and there. I'm making 5 at a time. And now I'm like, crap, I can't do that anymore. And I don't care what kind of keto bread it is. There's nothing that's going to taste like a
yeah.
baguette, right? So my thoughts on the the flours, the nut flours, are if that's what it takes to get you to break that habit, that
Hmm.
that lead you on the proper path, okay, but you need to be backing that off after a week or two, because replacing, something that you're addicted to with something else that simulates it is not helping you break that addiction
Yeah.
long term, right?
Yeah.
So you need to kind of leave it behind and treat it like, when I was a kid and I come home, I would get one cookie, and it would be one cookie for, or if I waited too long to ask, it'd be like, no, it'll ruin your supper. I mean,
Right.
people forget that, instead now we're giving kids snacks every 2 hours because we think they're going to, collapse.
Mhm.
Um, so in the beginning, they're fine. And, all those recipes that you see on, almond flour, nut flour type, breads and things like that, they're always going to they're always going to show you the net carbs.
Yeah.
And one thing
And
that I
that's
learned a long
exactly.
time ago is let's start counting those total carbs, because if you're staying under 20 net carbs, and Kim Howerton did the math on this, you could be anywhere from 50 to 150 grams of carbs and
Yeah.
still be under your 20 net. And then people wonder why I'm stalled. It's because you're eating too many carbs. So in the beginning, as a crutch, I feel the same way about. I'd rather you have a fat bomb,
Hmm.
a well-made fat bomb with coconut oil and some flavorings, or a savory fat bomb, and there's tons of those out there. But again, you got to, if there's more than 2 or 3 ingredients, I'd be wary of it. My favorite fat bomb is just a cold piece of bacon.
Yeah.
But because there's nothing detrimental to having a fat
Yeah.
bomb, that's all that's in it. So if you need that in the beginning, that's fine.
Well,
Um,
and also the cookies, the cakes, the pastries, all that other stuff. Say that you have been on keto for 3 years and you have maintained your weight for, a year and a half of those 3 years, and you want to have a keto cookie once in a while as a treat.
yeah.
You know what you're doing. You have made
Mhm.
it a long time doing this keto thing. You know what your threshold is. So if you can eat something that's made out of coconut flour or almond flour every single day of your life, and you're maintaining your weight, and it's absolutely, absolutely better than going back to the Oreo cookies and
Absolutely.
and all the other junk.
Yeah.
So
We get into
everybody's,
the lesser of two evils at that point
yeah,
then,
and
right? So it's
and
like,
everybody's different.
and it's fine. It's fine as a treat. And by the time you've been doing this for a while, you'll, like Jessica said, you'll know yourself. You'll know, hey, is this going to lead to somewhere I don't want to go, or is this something I can handle? And so
Right.
if the fat snack cookie, the keto approved fat snacks cookie turns into eating a jar of Oreos, then you need to know yourself well enough not to have that. Even though it's keto
Exactly.
approved, you need to know yourself. So John says he is 3.5 weeks without alcohol. And John, I've known literally since second grade.
Good for
And
you.
I can tell you that's quite an impressive accomplishment, because John and his lovely wife, Yvonne, they like their wine. So do I, but awesome job, John. That's really cool. A lot of us are using Carb Manager. Oh, on my YouTube, if you're new to this, on my YouTube channel, I have 2 or 3 videos, and I'm actually working on another one right now on just the basics of using Carb Manager. That's the app that I choose when I choose to track, because in my opinion, the free version is pretty comprehensive, whereas some of the other ones give you kind of a stripped down version, and they want you to subscribe to a paid version to get all of that. So yeah, so Agnes had asked, what's the best keto counter app?
That's good to know, because I actually did get Carb Manager a long time ago, and I don't ever use it really. I mean, I have used it, but for the most part, I don't use it. But I went straight to the premium. I just bought it.
Yeah,
because
I
didn't know. So that's good
right,
for me to know when it re-ups. I'm just going to cancel it and
just
go back
cancel it,
to
because
I
it's
hardly use it
tracking all the
anyway.
macros that I want to track.
Yeah.
It'll track your weight. It'll let you store and do your own recipes. And these I have videos on all these on the YouTube channel. So check those out and subscribe while you're there. But the free version, from what I could see, the premium version lets you do, if you wanted to track your numbers of steps every day and things like that, Fitbit type stuff, and also access to keto recipes, again, which you have to be careful of, right? So to me, just the free version has everything I need it to do. Super easy to use. Its database is pretty comprehensive. And the video I'm working on right now is actually how to add something to the database that's not there. And it's really simple to do. So it's user friendly, super cool. So check out Carb Manager. It's free. The free version is pretty darn good. So is there a fat bomb that you like the best? Well, I mentioned just some cold bacon. There was one that I'm not a sweets guy, but for the first, because I was low carb, and then I refined this to keto. So when I first kind of cut everything out and no more products and things like that, I found myself kind of feeling like I could use a treat. And so, I think it's on Keto Connect. It's like a 2-ingredient. I made it a 3-ingredient fat bomb, and it's just coconut oil, and this is getting back into products because I didn't know any better. I think it's Isopure zero carb protein powder. Mm-hmm. So I would just mix those 2 things together and pour them in a mold, and I would have these little chews. You put them in the freezer, and they would be like cookies and cream flavor, or something like that. So. I'm not advocating buying the protein powder, but there's a fat bomb book. I'm trying to remember who did it. And I remember thinking the ingredients were pretty clean. It wasn't using like the protein powders and stuff like that. But yeah,
it's funny. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just clearing my throat. Yeah, for me, I left them behind pretty darn quickly. So.
I never did the fat bombs. Again, I was one of those people when I started keto. I don't think that this is the way everybody needs to do keto, but I went very Nazi on myself. Mm-hmm. So I didn't do the breads. I didn't do the fat bombs. I didn't do any of these things until later. But I did do shakes. I would get a protein isolate shake, and then I would put my own fats in it, and I would put a bunch of vegetables in it and some avocado or whatever, sometimes some dairy, and I would make my own. So that was the one product thing that I really depended on. But when it came to fat bombs, I never really did them. But when I finally decided to do one, I was just like, I don't know, I'm going to make a fat bomb. I took a spoon and I put a little bit of almond butter on it. I put a blob of butter on it. I sprinkled a little salt on it, and I threw a couple of Lily's chocolate chips on it, and I called it Fat Blob, the Fat Bomb. And
there you go.
I named him, and I posted him because he was my creation. He was just a blob of stuff that I just.
A blob of stuff, yeah.
And I'll do that once in a blue moon, where I'm just like, just a little bit of almond butter, a little bit of regular butter, if I have Lily's chocolate chips, which I hardly have anymore, but I used to, just throw them together and just eat it off a spoon. I did not I didn't buy all the molds and stuff, but they're so cool. I mean, the people who do them, they can make really neat things out of them. I just
Yeah,
didn't.
and I just found after and I think, because I was doing it early on, it just told me that I wasn't getting enough fat in my diet in the first place.
Mhm.
If I was getting hungry again, right?
Right.
And it's still the process of becoming fat adapted, and those are great to check because they fill you up because it is a fat bomb, and that sounded weird to me in the beginning, anyways. Like that doesn't sound very healthy, but again, that was getting into the paradigm shift, getting your mind wrapped around that. It's not the fat that's going to kill us. Don't blame the bacon for what the toast did, right? So,
Right.
Robin, I have Fat Bomb book, lots of recipes, sweet and savory. Robin, did you write that book or you have that book? Either way, go ahead and share the title with us so that we can all see it, and that'd be awesome. Let's see.
Sorry, I had to pick up my bird, or he would have just kept shrieking.
Yeah, it sounds like a pterodactyl over there. Oh,
Yeah, sorry about that. He's just gonna hang with us for a while.
Middle of the night, I could hear a shot of whipped cream being consumed, snacking by the fridge light. Okay, John, are you still doing that? I don't think you're doing that. So John says, you look amazing, Jeff. David, can you show the before and after pics again? So let me show the one that I didn't show before. This is the other one that I have handy. And so you're a little blurry in that one. Can you see that, Jess? Yeah.
You know what it was? It was like one of those, when I was that heavy, it was kind of like playing Where's Waldo to try to get a picture of me.
Oh, I don't have any before pictures because I forbade my picture to be taken.
This was from a video. There was a video of my dad on his 70th birthday. And I walked past somewhere in the background and I was like, wait, that was me. That was me. Freeze it, do a screenshot, because I didn't have a lot of videos of or pictures or anything. And if I did, I would make everybody in my life delete them. So
yeah. And I kind of am a little disappointed I don't have more of my fat pictures, What do you think of berries, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries? Count the carbs and as a treat. And, again, if you don't have a food scale, I recommend highly that you invest in one, at least for the beginner.
They're like $10 on Amazon.
Yeah, $10 on Amazon. But, if you see what 2 ounces of raspberries really looks like, you don't get to eat the whole container. You get about 4 raspberries, And so the problem with them is that they're very easy to overeat. But as a treat, as an every now and then thing, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries are fine in my book as long as you're just not getting carried away and they don't trigger anything else.
Exactly. I see berries and nuts in the same way. That once in a while is fine. My rule is never over a quarter cup of either.
Yeah.
So that's just an easy thing to remember. If you're eating over a quarter of a cup, which isn't very much.
It's really not. If you actually get out your measuring cup, the quarter cup, it's like, what? I was never going to use that for anything. And now it's like, right. How much you get of that. And it's like, oh man, it's disappointing. I've cut out nuts completely. I love nuts. However,
they're a downfall for me.
The problem is just this hand to mouth thing where you just do this. So when I did eat nuts, almonds were fantastic, but I would get the sleeved nuts that were already in a 2-ounce sleeve, and then just either the raw or the roasted, not all the flavors, because then you get into trouble with ingredients.
Yeah, then you get the bad oils.
It's in a 2-ounce package, and when that package is gone, you're done. Okay, you don't get the big barrel of it at Costco. And that's where you can get into trouble.
My favorite is macadamia nuts, and they're very expensive. So they're very expensive.
So that stops you. My absolute favorite are the peely nuts. Have you tried the peely nuts? Yes. Those are so freaking amazing.
Again, expensive though.
Thank God they're very expensive. Right. Because to me they're like a cross between a cashew and a macadamia nut.
They're so good.
Only with a buttery flavor. They're amazing and super easy to overeat, but they're ridiculously expensive. So
and they're not real easy to find either. At least I have.
No, you can get them on Amazon, and you want the sprouted peely nuts. Otherwise, they come.
Peely Hunter is the brand I'm familiar with.
Yeah. I had, let's see, I think I had a picture of them that I could share with you guys if I could find them quickly.
And they are delicious, but they are expensive, and they're not accessible, so easily accessible. So that keeps you under control too.
Right. And it's a
Because if you
good thing.
do get them, you don't want to eat them all in one sitting, because then you have to go out of your way
You
to
have
find
to
more.
portion them or have some self-control.
Yes.
Right. I mean, and they come in a small bag and you think, well, I could eat that whole bag. And it's like, no, you really can't. However, of the nuts, they are absolutely the healthiest and the lowest carb, and they have the least impact on, blood sugars, things like that. But I was just sitting there trying to find so I could share with you guys what they look like as far as packaging. I might have deleted it. I need to thin these dang pictures out. Apparently, I've got way too many pictures on here. But yeah, so nuts are one of those things where you just accidentally overeat them. It's, there's nothing inherently bad about them, although some people do have a sensitive. I'm not talking about nut allergies, but nuts, they can stall you. So if you're stalled and you're not seeing the results you want, it's a good idea to start eliminating those types of things first.
Yeah.
Along with things like heavy whipping cream, things like that.
Nuts, dairy, and berries are the three culprits that most people have. Now
True,
you might have other things that that can stall you out, but if you are in a stall, those are the first three things that most people look at. And if you eliminate those things, often that's something that will get you past the stall. It's not a guarantee. But
because everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's a good place to start looking, is with the nuts and the dairy, especially the heavy whipping cream. And people kind of overdo that, on the I'm trying, the butter coffee, the bulletproof type coffee, keto coffee. They put butter in it and MCT oil in it and heavy whipping cream and then some stevia or Splenda or something like that. And it's like, okay, that's like 2 meals. You don't really need to do that. So,
that brings up the other one. The other stalling thing is the sweeteners.
Yeah, and different people have different sensitivities to different sweeteners. I allow myself some liquid Splenda. I'm trying to think of the actual
the sweet leaf.
Yeah, just the Splenda, the brand, the powder has dextrose and maltodextrin in it, so you want to stay away from those.
Yeah, most
people don't have a reaction to just the pure liquid version of the Splenda.
The Splenda. I was thinking.
Yeah, and now the one that I think triggers a lot of people is monk fruit. Monk fruit gets overused, and it does have a higher potential of an insulin spike than some of the others.
Which I didn't know for a very long time. I was always under the assumption that monk fruit was one of the best.
And for some people, it might be.
And
right?
it is for a lot of people. But yeah, I was actually surprised. And I think that I was actually a little guilty of overusing the monk fruit, thinking that it was one of the very best. And it is a good option. I'm not saying that it's not.
Yeah. Again, this is like, when you first start out, you're going to be losing inflammation and losing some, you're going to lose all inflammation first, and then you'll get into fat burning. And then, once your body is being properly fed for a while, that's when you have to start fine tuning this stuff. And that's when you say, okay, should I eliminate this sweetener or should I eliminate all sweeteners? Some people, all sweeteners have to go because they have a higher sensitivity to the cephalic insulin response, where just the taste of something sweet, whether it has a calorie or glucose impact at all, which these don't, your insulin goes up because it thinks there's something sweet coming. Right. So, in the old days, if you tasted something sweet, without a doubt, it meant, hey, something sweet's coming and we're going to have to battle this high glucose that's about to happen. So on a preemptive level, your pancreas starts excreting insulin. Insulin turns off fat burning. Insulin is the hormone that tells your body to store fat. So you want your insulin as low normal as you possibly can. So for some people, all sweeteners are a no-no. Others, you have to kind of experiment, but stay away from the powdered ones. And if you are using one for like baking or something like that, make sure there's no dextrose or maltodextrin in there. Those have a glycemic and an insulin impact as well.
And the dextrose and the maltodextrin, they're hidden in everything.
They're
those
again,
little
that's
packets that you can get at Starbucks, and I don't know about Starbucks, but just anywhere where you get those little packets. If it's a Splenda packet, it probably has maltodextrin or dextrose.
Oh, it does.
In it.
I can guarantee you.
And
it does.
Same thing with the stevia packets, like the stevia in the raw. You think, oh, stevia in the raw, that sounds healthy. They
have crap in them too, don't
and
they?
And the Splenda, but here's the tricky one. Splenda Naturals, they do not. Splenda Naturals in the packets do not, but in they don't. It's just stevia and erythritol. And same thing with the Equal Naturals. Both of those, I mean, double check. Don't take my word for it. Double check on that. But the Splenda Naturals in the packages, the bigger packages, does have other stuff in it that you don't want.
Interesting. So just the individual ones are the clean ones. Is that right?
Yeah. Of the Splenda Naturals. Yeah.
Naturals, not just
and
the
they don't have
brand.
And they don't have any sucralose in them. They are stevia and erythritol.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. The green ones.
Yeah. And I gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And some people are okay with sucralose. I think I am, but I've backed off my sweeteners so much anymore that whatever I use, it's minimal and it's occasional.
Right.
I just don't need the sweet taste and when I used to drink this sweet coffee, I would take a large cup of coffee and I would put like 4 or 5 packets of whatever, Splenda or whatnot. And my coffee tasted like candy. And now if I put anything in it, it's a large coffee with, maybe a little tiny squirt of something. But for the most part, that need for something sweet, that goes away. That's something that you're going to train your palate on. So I was still looking for those peely nuts again, but I can't find it. I should have been better prepared for these questions.
No. But I don't know which one you get.
Pili is the nut, and you want to look for the sprouted nuts, and they should just have nuts and sea salt. There should be no other stuff in there.
Yeah, the one that we got, we had the Scottsdale keto event. We got samples from Peely Hunter. And then I saw them again at KetoCon. So those are the only ones that I've tried, but I was in love. I mean, like seriously, I don't know if there are other brands that are better or cheaper or whatever, but if you're looking for one, Peely Hunter is a good starting point. Peely Hunters.
And I wish I could find that brand that I had, but it was fine. It was clean ingredients. It had sea salt and peely nuts, and that was it. And they're just delicious. But again, be careful with them. And like I said, I'm glad they're so expensive. Otherwise, I buy them by the barrel.
So. I learned something else when I was at KetoCon about the Peely Hunters or the peely nuts in general. I learned from the vendor. Keep them in the fridge. Like if you aren't going to eat them right away, he said they can, get a little.
Well, they have a lot. They have a lot of fat. First of all, they're a high fat nut, which is a good thing. But that lead them to going rancid. So if you're not going to eat the whole bag, as you shouldn't, you need to. That's a good idea. Keep them in there.
And I didn't know that.
I didn't either, but I would have them gone in a week probably. But I would literally, I get those little snack size baggies, not the sandwich, but the little tiny ones, and I would literally measure out 2 ounces of those things. Otherwise, I would eat the whole thing. And those are absolutely not only delicious, but if you're even counting total carbs, forget about subtracting. They are so low carb that they're great for that. So, man, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've been going just for about an hour now. That went by really fast. So I'm gonna make it's green chili season. Hatch green chilies are and that's one of our, here in the Southwest. That's one of our favorite things. I have some freshly roasted hatch chilies in the refrigerator that I roasted last night, and I'm gonna have a 8-ounce hatch green chili cheeseburger
that sounds
20
good.
minutes. In about 20 minutes. So
on your page,
yes.
Real quick thought on the hatch chilies. On your page, we had a conversation going on what we should stuff them with. What would you stuff them with?
Oh man. Well, a good quality cream cheese is a good start because that's that's kind of the popper kind of base. And then boy, anything is. I'm trying to think of what I've done before, but some ground Italian sausage in there with that cheese, and then in addition to that, put a little bit of cheddar cheese in it and roll it up in there.
You can exactly what I was thinking, and chives.
And chives, and mix the cheddar cheese and soften the cream cheese. Mix the shredded. Don't buy the pre-shredded cheddar cheese. Shred your own cheese, guys, because they put an anti-caking agent that's basically cornstarch. So soften the cream cheese, mix in some cheddar cheese, and then mix in some. Make sure that it's cold. You don't want to put hot meat in cream cheese; that would be a mess. But some seasoned ground beef. Make it like taco beef. Make your own seasonings. Don't buy the seasoning packets because those are loaded with crap. Or ground Italian sausage, or just buy the links and uncase it. Boy, it's kind of one of those things where you can just be as creative as you want. I think John and Yvonne did. You guys did jalapeno poppers, and I think they chopped up some leftover brisket. Sounds amazing to me. Some smoked meat.
That sounds fun.
So if you had some smoked brisket or some smoked pork, chop that up, throw it in there. Everything goes with green chilies, so it can be what like Alton Brown says, it's refrigerator Velcro. Whatever you got and you got to use it up, let's stuff it in a chili. Stuff it in a chili because it's probably going to taste better than whatever it tasted like in its first one. I'm going to do one last question here from John. He's the co-administrator in Easy Keto with Arizona Dave, and let's see. Going carnivore, I'm losing weight faster now. What happens with loose skin? Does it improve? Well, it will improve, but you need to probably incorporate at least 16 to 18 hour fasting, which I think you're already doing, John. At about the 16-hour mark is when you trigger autophagy, which is the body repurposing excess skin cells that it doesn't need, and it will reuse the damaged cells first. So, loose skin is, we want to get rid of it, but it's also going to look at whatever damaged cells it needs to get rid of first, because it's smart. It's not as narcissistic as we are. It's going to take the dangerous stuff out. We're even talking about precancerous cells, things like that. It's going to attack those and then eat them and go. But yes, so the longer you incorporate the intermittent fasting, as you're losing weight, the skin will generally, it's a slower process than the weight loss. So there's going to be a period of time where there's some loose skin. But if you just keep the autophagy going for as long as you can, again, anything after 16 hours, you're into it. So if you can go, 18 to 24 hours and do the 1 meal a day thing for a couple times a week, you'll get some benefit from that. What do you think of that, Jessica?
I think that you're right. And I think that many people who do keto tend to just naturally do some form of intermittent fasting. You just kind of get to that point where you're just not eating several meals a day. And so even if you're like 12 and 12, it's not probably going to go quite as fast if you're putting a timer on it. But as long as you're not just feeding your body like throughout the day, every single day, and you are going longer stretches without eating, there is autophagy going on.
The longer your insulin's low and you're getting some autophagy, but it really kicks in at that.
If you want to ramp it up, you stretch it out further. But even if you're not one of those people who is very good at doing that, you are achieving autophagy. It's just going slower.
Right. So thank you, Angie, for sharing this to the group. And again, I wouldn't. This question was originated by John, but when you're first starting out, don't worry about this stuff, because fasting becomes almost effortless once you're fat adapted, because then your body, it doesn't care if it's eating something you put in your mouth or the fat off your butt. It'll just shift into fat burning from one
Yeah.
source to another, and you don't get really hungry.
Yeah.
You feel like you should eat just because you're of a habitual eating that we've been doing for our entire life. But if you really think about it, you're really not all that hungry. And so that, again, that's going to take 3 to 6 weeks for most people. So don't rush into this. Let's just, take it one step at a time, and we'll go from there.
Don't be afraid of fasting, and don't be afraid if you're not fasting.
Right. You're not doing it wrong if you're not. You are
listen
fasting.
to your body and just follow your own cues, and eventually you should get into a sync, and then you can push yourself further when you become more comfortable. Because I didn't do any kind of, I didn't do any kind of weird fasting at the beginning, and I mean now I'm down around 100 pounds. And I've done it with a lot of fasting and a little bit of fasting. And overall, at the end of the day, I don't have a lot of loose skin. A little bit, but for 100 pounds, I don't have very much.
Right. And I've lost 90 and I don't have very much either, but I've still got probably about another 50 to go. So I'm going to really start incorporating some muscle building and also some, fasting. And fasting, again, it becomes kind of effortless to do the 16 to 18 hour. I mean, most people sleep for 7 to 8 hours a night. Okay. Yeah. And most people don't take their last bite of food and fall asleep. So let's say you have your last bite of food at 6 p.m. and you get up at 6 a.m. Well, there's 12 hours right there.
Exactly.
So then you just push that to 11, 12. So now we're just talking about skipping breakfast. Who hasn't skipped breakfast? That's not a big deal. Skip breakfast, and then you have your lunch at 11 or 12:30, and you're boom. You're at between 16 and 18 hours right there. And all you did was skip breakfast. You don't even have to call it fasting at that point. It's just, hey, I skipped breakfast. Yeah. People freak out when they hear the fasting word. Oh my God, you're going to burn your muscle. Oh, that's the argument that just and Jason Fung had a great line on this. He says, "You mean to tell me that when the chips are down and your body's going to go for the muscle first? That's like having firewood on the porch, but when the fireplace gets empty, you chop up your sofa and throw it in instead of going to get wood, right? Exactly. So don't burn the sofa. Forget about the wood over there, So no, we don't have to worry about that, guys. That happens in starvation, and that's a completely different thing from fasting. Yeah. Even extended, 5-7 day fasts, you're not into starvation yet. So, but I really, I'm glad we had the time to do this. And guys, we will be doing a few more of these episodes. I'm sure Jessica will be a face that you will be seeing much more of in Easy Keto with Arizona Dave. And we have a couple more guests coming up that have some pretty cool stories. One of them is Heather Cohen, who I met recently at that meetup and at the Dr. Berry event. She's agreed to come on. We're going to try to do that on Sunday, guys. So watch for an announcement on that. And then your friend Dory and I had a nice chat the other night. And if you want to talk about somebody with a lot of energy, holy cow. Wait till you guys meet Dory. If you don't know Dory, a lot of energy. Wait till you meet Dory. And Dory, if you're on here, say hi. But it was awesome chatting with you the other day. And so keep an eye out for the announcements. And as always, I'm available for questions, comments. You can private message me anytime in the group or outside of the group. I'm always available. Jessica's been doing this a lot longer than I have. Feel free to reach out to her. Yeah,
anytime. Just send me a private message or jump into the group, post, either on mine or Dave's. Tag either of us if you want to.
So we shared this into the public page. So if this is something that you want to share and you haven't, and thank you to those who have already, feel free to share it. But both Jessica and I are cool with that. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't joined Easy Keto with Arizona Dave, we could always use another member. And Jessica's group is Ketogenesis, and she has a public page, Ketogenesis Community. Check those out as well. Any last words?
One quick last word. I just wanted to let everybody know that if you're in the Phoenix area, we do have the ADAPT conference coming on October 5th. And Dave is going to be volunteering with me, and I will be doing just a little. Oh, the bird doesn't like that. I'll be doing a little speech.
Nice.
And
congratulations on that too.
Thank you.
That's really cool. So,
and if you're not in the Phoenix area, they are all over the country. So, just go to Adapt Your Life. And if you're not in the Phoenix area, see if they are coming into your area.
Yeah. And one of the nice things about Adapt, and we were talking about this before, is that it's a one-day event. They bring in 1 or 2 national speakers. Dr. Eric Westman is the main guy behind it. But then they find the local doctors and,
Yes.
and providers in that area and have them come up and do a talk. And it's a one-day event. So unlike the big conventions and the cruises that are hundreds and anywhere from like a few hundred to a few $1,000s on the cruises, this is usually well under $100, especially if you get in on the early bird ticket. And, you know, you spend one day at a convention center, or, you know, and you have a great time. You learn a lot. And it's also a great place to take somebody who's on the edge. I'm not sure about keto. It sounds dangerous, because then you're going to be sitting here listening to medical professionals talk about it instead of an idiot on the internet like me. You know, and you can let them know, hey, Duke University is using this. Okay. Johns Hopkins is using this. Cleveland Clinic has finally come around. You know, this is not internet, you know, fad stuff. This is real medical science, and it's helping a lot of people fix a lot of problems that unfortunately we caused ourselves. So,
and there are real medical people right here in Phoenix, or, you know, wherever the other ADAPT events are. When you go to an ADAPT event, you have the opportunity, if you want to, if you like, you know, one of the speakers, they're medical professionals. You can call up their office and make an appointment.
Yep.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing. I mean, I love KetoCon. Don't get me wrong. It was really, really fun, but I'm not going to meet with a lot of those speakers unless I go to another event.
Right,
but
because those conventions everybody's flying into, guys, and so with this event, these are going to be local doctors that you can become a patient of, or a local nurse practitioner or nutritionist or whatnot.
Exactly. So, Dave goes to Dr. Nally. I go to Dr. Nally. Our buddy Brandon, Stephanie. You know, I am just naming some of the people that are in our circle who go to Dr. Nally, because he's here. He's local. He'll be one of the speakers. And then there are going to be 5 other doctors.
Yep,
so
that's awesome.
It's beautiful. It's really a beautiful thing. So,
well, I'm really looking forward to that. That's happening right after, shortly after I get back from vacation. A little, you know, it's about a month after I get back from vacation, but that seems so. I'll have some time to recover and fix any damage I did on vacation before that event. But anyway, hey, thanks very much, Jessica. We'll do this again soon. And I want to thank everybody who's online watching us. And if you're watching this on the replay, feel free to drop comments down below. I'll be checking them. I get notified when comments are left on my page. And we'll just see you guys soon. And keto on, keto strong. And we'll see you all next time. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Bye,